Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're digging into a really provocative thesis from historian and anthropologist Emmanuel Todd. He argues that the euro, the very symbol of a united Europe, isn't just failing, it's actually doomed to completely collapse. Okay, let's just jump right in with Todd's prediction. I mean, look at that quote. He's not pulling any punches here. This isn't some mild criticism, it's a forecast of total system failure. So that really sets the stage for us to figure out why he believes this is basically a sure thing.
And that, right there, is the central mystery, isn't it? How could the one thing designed to bring all these nations closer together actually become the very trigger that rips them apart? We're going to peel back the layers here, starting with the economic problems everyone can see, and then diving into the hidden cultural forces that Todd says are really running the show.
So, let's start on the surface, with the stuff that's pretty much impossible to ignore. Remember the promise of the euro? It was all about prosperity, about everyone growing together. But the reality, as Todd points out, is a continent stuck with a stagnant economy, crazy high unemployment, and this constant threat of deflation. It's pretty clear this utopian dream is, well, it's not looking so good.
So, what exactly is the economic flaw causing all this pain? Well, according to Todd, this isn't some bug in the system they can just patch up. Nope, it's a fundamental feature of the single currency itself, an inescapable trap that was basically baked into the design from day one.
This slide lays out the economic straitjacket just perfectly. Think about it. Before the euro, if a country like Italy was struggling, it had this crucial escape hatch. It could devalue its currency, the lira. And boom, just like that, its exports get cheaper for the rest of the world, and its own industries get a fighting chance. But inside the Eurozone, that escape hatch is gone. They're all locked into the exact same rigid value.
And the result is this just brutal, head-on competition, but on a totally uneven playing field. Without that ability to adjust their currency, countries like France and Italy are just completely exposed to the sheer power and efficiency of German manufacturing. And you know what? In a straight-up fight like that, they're losing.
And this right here, this shows you the real-world results. Now, yeah, this specific data is from a 2014 Japanese source, but the trend it reveals is what's absolutely key. You're looking at per capita GDP, and you can just see this economic hierarchy, this pecking order forming right before your eyes. Instead of coming together, the data shows they're pulling apart, with Germany pulling way ahead while southern countries fall behind. That gap is getting wider.
Which brings us to the million-dollar question, right? Or maybe the trillion-euro question. If the economics are so obviously bad for so many, why on earth would they stick with a failing system? Well, the answer, Todd says, has almost nothing to do with economics anymore. It's all about ideology and power.
And this is where we get into the political side of the crisis. Todd argues the euro has kind of transformed from an economic project into a system of control. It's created this really clear and really dangerous hierarchy in Europe, with one country sitting firmly at the top. Todd's argument here is pretty stark. He's saying the EU isn't really a partnership of equals anymore. It's become this machine that basically ensures Germany, the strongest economy, gets to call the shots for everyone else. And this has created this deep, deep resentment, where people in Southern Europe feel like they become second-class citizens, or in Todd's really blunt phrasing, subhuman, inside their own union. Todd uses this really powerful historical analogy, which you can see summarized here. He says the euro was originally a French idea to try and contain the power of Germany's currency, the Deutschmark. Kind of like how the French built the Maginot Line to contain the German army before World War II. And in his view, the euro has failed just as spectacularly. In fact, it backfired, giving Germany even more control, not less.
So here's the crucial point. For the political elites in Europe, the euro isn't just some economic tool that you judge by its results. No, it's become an article of faith. Todd calls this a monetary utopia. It's like this quasi-religious belief that's filled the space that old faiths like Catholicism used to occupy.
And this creates an incredibly dangerous disconnect. On one hand, you have the elites clinging to this dogma. But on the other hand, Todd sees that for regular people, belief in the single currency is, as he puts it, approaching zero. The leadership is totally out of sync with the people they're supposed to be leading.
But Todd's analysis goes even deeper than economics and ideology. He argues the ultimate reason the euro is failing is rooted in something way older and much more powerful: the deep, unchangeable diversity of Europe's nations themselves.
You see, the entire European project was kind of built on this one big bet. The idea that if you just integrated the economies, then all those deep cultural and historical differences between people would just sort of melt away.
And that bet, Todd says, has been proven completely and totally wrong.
He calls these things zombie forces. It's a great term, right? He's talking about stuff like family structures that are centuries old, the lingering ghost of religious traditions, different birth rates. These aren't just little cultural quirks. They shape everything, from how hard people work to how much they save to their attitudes about debt. They create these fundamental behaviors that a single currency just can't smooth over.
It all really boils down to this one simple but incredibly profound anthropological truth. The people who designed the euro basically acted like these differences didn't matter. But they do. They are the bedrock of what Europe actually is, and the single currency tried and failed to just ignore them.
Okay, so if the collapse is coming, what's next? Well, according to Todd, before anyone can even think about rebuilding, they have to deal with the wreckage. And the biggest, most urgent piece of wreckage is the gigantic mountain of government debt that the euro system created.
And on this point, Todd is crystal clear. This sovereign debt is never getting repaid. Not by Italy, not by France. He even argues not by Germany. The numbers are just too big. The system, he says, is fundamentally bankrupt. It's over. So, there are really only two ways out of this trap. Option 1, just print a ton of money. You run the presses, create massive inflation, and basically make the debt worthless. Or option 2, you formally declare default. You just cancel the debts. And he actually argues for that second path. Now, default sounds really dramatic, I know, but he sees it as the more honest, cleaner solution. It's like a surgeon's cut. It's going to hurt in the short term for sure, but it removes the disease and allows a real recovery to actually begin.
And here's what you should really take away from all this. The euro crisis isn't just a European story. Todd sees it as a huge signal, like the canary in the coal mine for the whole world. It represents the beginning of the end for our current phase of globalization.
And so that leaves us with this final, massive question that goes way beyond the borders of Europe. Does the failure of the euro mean we're heading back to the nation-state as the main way we organize ourselves? Or are we about to enter an even crazier, more chaotic phase of globalization? According to Todd's analysis, the answer to that is going to define our entire century.
Thanks for joining this explainer.